Alright, today is day 17 of my not masturbating. What I find really interesting is that the silliest of addictions are usually the most difficult to quit, right? I've had other substance addictions that I find I just let go without ever looking back. I used to drink a lot of soda, I had sugar addiction, I had addictions to various other food additives, MSG, and I let them go without even looking back. And yet the silliest things like the masturbating and the overeating in general, I find the hardest. Overeating of healthy foods, actually, those are the hardest ones to give up, or I shouldn't say give up, but to let go of. I thought I would talk about a few things that I've had addictions to, and I still struggle with from time to time. I have a hard time passing up on getting something for nothing. I talked about yesterday about deliberately running out of gas in order to get free gas with a valet parking service, and in years past with AAA. AAA doesn't give you free gas anymore. But I have a hard time passing up on getting something for nothing. I love going to theme parks. And I used to, or I still do, I love Silverwood Theme Park. And there's a ride that has an inversion. And the kids would get on it and they would lose a lot of loose change on the floor. And I can never resist the temptation to, when the ride would let go, to jump off and collect all that loose change for myself. I try not to do it these days, but up until my late 20s, I still did that, if you can believe that. It wasn't because I needed that loose change for anything. I just felt like it was passing up something for nothing if I didn't do it. Kind of like not getting your credit card rewards. And I just have a hard time with the idea of passing up something for nothing. Now, I live out of my car, and also I travel quite a bit, right? And sometimes when I'm going south toward California, Oregon has a bottle recycling program. And I can never resist the temptation to keep all my bottles and then go to Oregon and get a small fortune out of it. Not a whole lot of money. I mean, you're talking about a car's worth of aluminum cans or glass cans, and I take them to Oregon and get 5 cents each. It's not even because I want to get rich slowly or anything like that. It's not even because I have any ideas on what to do with the money. It's the idea that I don't want to lose an opportunity to get something for nothing, right? Now, this kind of ties in with my eating disorder. When I travel to Taiwan, and my favorite food there is a heck of a lot cheaper than back in the United States. Or better yet, I go to Poland where everything is a lot cheaper than the United States. I have a hard time resisting saving a lot of money by binge eating. Of course, I'm not really saving anything, right? I'm just hurting myself. But at the moment that I see at the grocery store food that is like a quarter of the expense of the United States, oh my God, I cannot resist. I have a hard time giving up the idea that I'm saving something or getting something for nothing. Now, I'm recording this on Saturday. Yesterday, I had a difficult time at one of my favorite coffee shops that has a live concert every Friday night. And the reason I had a problem was their Wi-Fi was down. There was nothing I really wanted to surf, actually. I just have a habit of always having my email open and all that. And it's hard to explain internet addiction. The best way I can explain it is that you're cruising along and all of a sudden something goes wrong with your car, right? Or just something or you're in an airplane that stalls, right? Everything just comes to a grinding halt when you're expecting internet connection and it doesn't connect, right? It's kind of interesting because I sometimes travel places that I know will not have internet, and I don't seem to have a problem with that, right? I love traveling to the Rocky Mountains. I love nature. There are plenty of places that I would willingly go to that have no internet. I don't seem to have a problem with it. The main problem I have is when I expect to get an internet connection and it doesn't come, right? These days you can pretty much expect internet on an airplane, in a lot of buses here in the Seattle area. And when it doesn't connect, it just feels awkward, right? I live out of my car as well. Sometimes, for whatever reason, the car battery doesn't want to charge my computer. It just feels very awkward. I used to be a pyromaniac. I love to burn things. Well, I still do. But when I was in 8th grade, I discovered how to make this oxidizing powder called sodium chlorate with electrolysis. And I made a good amount of it, and I stuffed it into a phone book. I put the phone book in the fireplace, and I burnt it. And that was the best thing I ever did. Much better than the first time I ever went on a date, or, you know, the typical milestones that you expect a 13-year-old to have. The burning of the sodium chloride was one of the biggest memories I ever had as a 13-year-old. Drove my mom crazy that I would always make a mess in the fireplace. She was always concerned about our personal safety from me playing with fire, and I always did it sensibly. Even to this day, I love burning stuff. Lately, my obsession has been burning hair. Like, I would brush my hair, and I would find hair on my hairbrush, and I would burn it. And I love the smell from burning it. And well, this past month, I went on my first date since Let's Go Brandon took office, if you can believe it. And as I was in the car with the girl, she had a hairbrush that had hair on it, and I asked her if I could see some of that hair, and I collected some of it. And later on, when she wasn't around, I burnt it and sniffed it, and it felt really good to have a part of her body inside of my lungs. I don't know why. I have weird obsessions like that. Many years ago, it used to be drinking urine. I would get fascinated with drinking my girlfriend's urine, and one time I drank so much of it that I got very sick, and I had diarrhea, and her urine just shot out of my butt, and that was the best feeling in the world. And unfortunately, I've run into problems with taking that too far sometimes. Now, another bodily function that sometimes drives me nuts is I love to clean my ears. I love putting hydrogen peroxide in my ears and cleaning it. Now, one time I got into a fight with my brother because I couldn't find my hydrogen peroxide. I was living in an apartment near my college campus, and my dad and my brother had gone by to do something. I can't remember what it was. They had rearranged my stuff, and now I couldn't find the hydrogen peroxide. And I was itching to clean my ears, and so I just became a huge mess. Now, I think I've talked extensively about my eating disorder problems. My one time that sticks out when I had a food craving was I was in Amsterdam. I had flown to Amsterdam for a conference, but my luggage got lost. It was delayed. I had a lot of baking chocolate. I love baking chocolate. Now, I have language barriers in Amsterdam, and I was looking for baking chocolate. I couldn't find it. I was going from store to store, and it was getting late, and I refused to give up looking for it. And I remember thinking to myself, dude, it's like a drug habit, you know. I'm looking for my drug dealer at like 10 o'clock when I should really be back in my hotel room. It just felt like a drug habit. Anyway, I find some of the weirdest addictions are the hardest to quit, right? Because a lot of these weird addictions, unless you're having a really bad episode, they fit right into our social lives, right? Nobody's gonna think you're crazy for wanting to connect to the internet. Nobody's going to think you're crazy for taking care of your bodily needs, right? Certainly not eating. Everybody needs to make a living, so trying to get something for nothing kind of doesn't have a foreign feeling to it. I mean, it might sound desperate, right? So unless you're having a really bad case, right, they don't really stick out all that socially, and that's why I find a lot of these things to be incredibly hard to let go of.